We've got breaking news into Texas Tech men's basketball as Grant McCasland has hired his general manager in Kellen Buffington. If you don't know the name, you should get to know it. It's a big-time hire for the Red Raiders. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you want more Texas Tech men's basketball content, whether that's film breakdowns, the latest breaking news, rumors, whatever it may be, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button to stay in the know all year long. And while you're at it, hit that notification bell so you stay in the know more than your friends. And, well, when you're having a beer, you can bring up the points they may not know about. But let's jump into this in terms of hiring Buff. And for those guys that don't know out there, and for those of you that are kind of thinking, RC, Texas Tech has a general manager on the basketball staff? Now here, let me explain what a general manager is in the college terms, okay? He's technically not on the staff. He's more on the recruiting side. But when it comes to recruiting in the state of Texas, there are truly none better than Kellen Buffington. Some of you guys may know him as on Twitter, the TB5 reports. He puts on countless events here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and is really one of the guys in terms of the pioneers of developing and getting guys out to be seen more at the grassroots level in the state of Texas. Truly one of the most highly regarded and well-respected guys in DFW. And you get a guy like this on the recruiting trail that has helped find guys early on in their career in terms of the number one overall pick in Cade Cunningham, who went to Oklahoma State. You've also got Anthony Black, a lottery pick in this past year's draft. Cason Wallaces, another lottery pick that went to the Oklahoma City Thunder at 10th overall, right? And then you got Keyonte George. Tech fans know him well. He played at Baylor just last year. Those are just a couple of the names that Kellen Buffington has helped find early on in their basketball careers and elevate them to Power 5 elite level status and get them to be an NBA first-round pick. Just a phenomenal hire by Texas Tech. This brings instant credibility at the highest level for Texas Tech and the Red Raiders when they go into any living room of a top prospect in DFW. Simple and plain. And for those that don't know, at the high school level, I'm not sure there's a better city or area right now currently in the entire country when it comes to talent at the high school level for men's basketball than DFW. There are, everywhere you look, it seems like every time I walk down the street here in DFW, I'm seeing at least one D1 potential basketball player. It's that loaded with talent. And Buff knows these guys like the back of his hands and has relationships with everyone who's everyone in this business. So this is a phenomenal hire and truly one of those guys that can make an immediate impact on the recruiting trail for Texas Tech, okay? And listen, I think this is probably the last hire for Texas Tech men's basketball on the coaching staff or just the staff and support staff in general, right? But damn, this is a home run type hire in so many ways for Texas Tech and a history-making one too. He is the first African-American GM in D1 Power 5 college basketball history. A historic hire for Texas Tech and one that truly could pay immediate dividends for the Red Raiders on the recruiting trail, not only in DFW, I know I was focusing on that, but in the entire state of Texas when it comes to recruiting elite, and I mean elite level talent. All right. I know I talked about a little bit. I have more down here, but I want to transition into the staff in terms of this is probably it for Texas Tech. I think this is the staff when it comes down to it. There's going to be 5 guys on the actual coaching staff. Buff will be in the background doing recruiting stuff as the general manager and helping with those day-to-day operations for the Red Raiders. But as it stands right now, and I think, again, this is going to be your coaching staff for Texas Tech going into year 1 of Grant McCasland. Obviously, Grant McCasland as the head coach. You got Matt Brower as an assistant coach. You got Chokey. Then you got LB, Luke Barnwell on the staff, and then Dave Smart. When it comes down to it, I'll be the first to admit, I was critical of what was going on for Texas Tech and the assistant coaches and how long it took. Obviously, Brower and Chokey came along with Grant McCasland. They were there at the introductory press conference for the new Red Raiders head man. But it took a little while to get Barnwell. It took a little while to get Dave Smart, right? It took a little while to get Kellen here and Buff here, right? Like, it took a little while for that to happen. But the process was trusted by Grant McCasland. And when it's all said and done, and I look at this staff again, McCasland leading the way, Brower, Chokey, Barnwell, and then Smart. This is a phenomenal coaching staff for year one of Grant McCasland. You think about it, you got two young guys in Chokey and Matt Brower that are eager to prove themselves and are elite basketball minds when it's all said and done and bring a specific skill set that will help the Red Raiders propel forward. You bring a guy in Luke Barnwell who is one of the best high school coaches in the country. Simple and plain. It's that simple, right? And you bring him in here, and he's going to have an instant credibility when it comes to recruiting too because of his connections that he developed while at Sunrise Christian Academy up in Bel Air, Kansas. Then you bring in one of the most winning coaches in North American basketball history in Dave Smart, right? That has implemented a defense that the highest level of Power 5 offenses, whether that's Jim Boeheim and others across the Power 5 landscape, have had problems with when they go play him up in Canada, right? You bring him down, and it's going to take some time for that defense to be implemented at the highest level that Grant McCasland wants it to be at. But strictly from a staff construction standpoint, right? Phenomenal job. Simple and plain. And I didn't even mention Buff there at the very end. But from a strictly coaching staff going to be on the sidelines for Texas Tech, right? Those four guys and then Grant McCasland, phenomenal job. Simple and plain. Sometimes you just got to eat your own words in terms of what's going to happen here. I thought some good things would happen, but by no means did I think this elite of a staff would be put together. And I'm not trying to just throw that word out willy-nilly. I truly think that this is an elite staff in year number one for Grant McCasland in terms of he got that experience in Dave Smart in terms of the highest level, albeit in Canada. I get it, but he knows what it takes to win. You bring in a guy like Luke Barnwell, who I just mentioned, right? Hey, he's got that high level of experience at the high school ranks and is going to be a very good recruiter. And then you bring in a guy like Chokey, a rising up-and-coming star in the coaching ranks, and then a guy in Matt Brower that brings a specific skill set that a lot of these other guys on the staff don't have. And obviously, Grant McCasland leading the way. He's proven time and time again he is simply a winner. This is a good staff for the Red Raiders, but I want to hear your opinion, so give me a grade. Grade the complete Texas Tech men's basketball coaching staff. A, B, C, D, or F. Kind of gave my opinion on this in terms of, everything that's going on for the Red Raiders. In my opinion, again, I think this is probably going to be an A for me, if not a B plus type scenario. But again, I want to preface everything here. After months of speculation, Grant McCasland has done a phenomenal job on completing his coaching staff, right? And hiring a GM. Obviously, that doesn't mean that you're going to have on-court success right away. But I do want to say this. I think this gives you a much better chance at it. And I feel a lot better going into the season now, knowing who the staff is and knowing that you have a guy like Buff who is going to help you engineer a lot better of a process on the recruiting trail and have instant elite credibility in one of the best basketball markets in the country from a high school level and an AAU standpoint in the DFW Metroplex. An unbelievable hire in terms of getting Buff to Lubbock. He has been simply a pioneer at the grassroots level in the state of Texas and bring instant credibility to the Red Raiders. So phenomenal job by Grant McCasland on that front. And getting this staff together, it turned out a lot better at some points than I thought it would during this summer. So great job by Grant McCasland. All right, one more time, give me a grade. Grade the complete Texas Tech coaching staff, A, B, C, D, or F. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long. We're talking about Big 12 expansion right now. Colorado's back in the mix, but we're still going to talk about Texas Tech men's basketball here in the channel as well as the season inches closer and closer. And there's a lot more talking points now as the Red Raiders look like they are in a solid place to potentially make the tournament in year number one of Grant McCasland. I'm RC Maxfield reminding you to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.